Hey everybody. So we've come to the end of the semester here, and I, for one, have learned a lot about myself and public speaking. And while we're not actually standing up in front of people and speaking physically, we are recording a speech, generally in one take. I haven't done any editing on mine because I want to kind of keep things natural. Um, these exercises have helped me immensely in my confidence, um, and my ability, I think, to give speeches, focus on the speech itself, making the audience feel comfortable, and and just kind of keep things flowing naturally. One thing that I learned from our textbook is that an effective speech starts with understanding your audience. The book explains that considering the audience's interests, knowledge, attitudes, and demographics helps you present your message in a way that is more meaningful and engaging. The textbook also taught me that every speech should have a specific purpose. Before writing the speech, you should decide exactly what you want your audience to learn, believe, or do, which helps the presentation stay focused. Another concept I took from the textbook is that good public speaking isn't about saying as much as possible. Instead, speakers should keep their message simple, focus on the audience, and leave the audience wanting more rather than overwhelming them with information. Um, Three things I've learned from this entire process would be first, speech. A speech should be written for the audience, not just for the speaker. Thinking about what the audience already knows and how to explain a topic clearly made my speeches much more effective. Sorry about that. I learned that organizing a speech with a clear introduction, I just want to make sure things were still going, body, and a conclusion makes it easier for both the speaker and audience to follow the message. So coming up with the outlines and that kind of stuff really helped me keep things organized. I learned that practicing before recording a speech makes a huge difference. Each time I practiced, I became more comfortable speaking and felt more confident in front of the camera, and it also helped me with eye contact. Um, I think from the very first speech to my true cost of higher education speech, I noticed a significant improvement in both my confidence and my presentation skills. During my first speech, I was nervous, speaking on camera, and mostly focused on just getting through the assignment. By the end of the semester, I felt much more comfortable recording myself and was able to concentrate on my delivery instead of worrying about being in front of a camera. I also improved my technical knowledge of public speaking. I learned how to organize a speech with clear introduction, body, and conclusion, how to create an effective, specific purpose statement, and how to use transitions to help ideas flow naturally. I became better at selecting credible sources, incorporating visual aids, hand gestures mostly, that support my message, and practicing enough that my speeches would or sounded more conversational instead of simply being read from a script. Looking back, I can see that each speech built onto the previous one. By the time I completed my true cost of higher education speech, I was much more confident, organized, and prepared than I was at the beginning of the course. That said, my true cost of higher education speech was very long and extremely difficult to work through without looking at my script pretty frequently. That's something I'm going to continue to work on in the future. Um, as far as my individual speeches, my self introduction speech helped me become more comfortable. It was kind of breaking the ice. Just had a power outage there. I'm gonna have to stitch this half to that first half. Anyway, the self introduction speech, although I was nervous, gave me a good starting point and showed me areas where I could improve. My intercultural speech about black hole winds, um, from Sagittarius A, challenged me to explain a complex scientific topic to a general audience to understand. It reinforced the importance of audience analysis and using credible sources. My true cost of higher education speech was the most challenging for me. because it was much longer than my previous speeches. I found myself relying on my script more often and occasionally losing my place while recording. Looking back, I wrote that speech in a way that was too long winded. If I had more time, I would have shortened the script and simplified some sections to make the delivery smoother and more conversational. Although it was not my strongest presentation, it taught me an important lesson about balancing thorough research and concise communication. I also learned that sometimes less is more when giving a speech, and editing is just as important as writing the first draft. Overall, each speech built upon the last one. Looking back at my first speech and comparing it to my final speech, I can clearly see the growth in my confidence, organization, preparation, and overall public speaking ability. I also enjoyed listening to my classmates' presentations throughout the semester. It kind of gave me like a reference point, like what I kind of should be doing as well. Kaylee's speech about the true cost of higher education did a great job at explaining that college expenses go far beyond tuition alone. I reported on something similar. I thought she used statistics effectively to support her points and presented information that is relevant to many students. I also liked Emma's presentation. She was well prepared, and her speech was organized in a way that made it easy to follow. Throughout the semester, listening to my classmates gave me new ideas about different presentation styles and reminded me that everyone has unique strengths as a speaker. The grade I would honestly give myself is a B plus, low A, somewhere in that range. I believe I earned that grade because I put a great deal of effort into this course and completed all of the major speeches to the best of my ability. I bought a microphone, a boom, a Zoom subscription. I took this class very seriously. Over the semester, I became much more comfortable speaking on camera, improved my organization, and learned how to better support my ideas with credible sources. However, I also do have to take into account that I completed some assignments very close to their deadlines and missed or submitted some work late. While I always finished the work, my time management was not as strong as it could have been. Because of that, I do not think I earned a full A, but I do believe my overall effort and improvement deserves a solid B plus. I think the strongest evidence for that grade is the progression I made from my first speech to my last. My confidence, organization, and understanding of public speaking techniques improved throughout the semester. At the same time, I recognized that better planning would have reduced my stress and allowed me to spend more time refining my speeches before submitting them. If I were to take another public speaking course, improving my time management skills would be one of my biggest goals. So, thank you very much, everybody. It has been a pleasure.